All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Monday, April 14th. We have a 10-game MLB slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. Talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays. So I'm actually rolling with myself, absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. And keeping an eye on the pinned comment yesterday would have paid some dividends. We go 8-2. Let's take the cha-ching now. It's technically more so like a 6-2 day because we did have two plays that we ended up splitting a half unit on. The Reds and Pirates Nerfy, and then the Reds and Pirates first 5 under, as well as the Diamondbacks moneyline and Diamondbacks team total, which was an absolute sweat. But ultimately, those were kind of split unit plays compared to the rest. So more like a 6-2 day, which I am not complaining about. Still off to a red hot start in the MLB season. It's a long, long season, though, so I don't want to get my hopes too high. But it's nice to start like this, so we shall take it. I'll take another cha-ching from the soundboard there, but that was yesterday. We do have today to talk about, and there's a few decent matchups here that we're going to dive into. I think we're still waiting on some confirmed pitchers, but at least we have the probable arms to go off of for today's video. So guys, go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's go ahead and jump into game number 1 here. We have Pittsburgh taking on Washington. Paul Skeens getting the start for Pittsburgh, which is why those odds are at -220. He's going up against Brad Lord for this Washington team who, even when starting, I think he only has one start this year. I think he pitched like 2 or 3 innings. So a relief arm that's most likely going to kind of pitch the first little chunk of the game. We do have some weather in this one, 57% chance of rain, 68 degrees in Pittsburgh with some 11-mile-an-hour winds. I think that the only way of going about this may be taking a peek at Paul Skeens and the Pirates, first 5 run line, or just the first 5 under. I think you can get it at under 4 right now. You have the weather, you have Paul Skeens, and then you have a Pittsburgh offense that isn't all that great. Like Washington's offense has looked decent, but now they're going up against a stud in Paul Skeens, right? And then you have Pittsburgh's offense, who I don't really care. I could pitch against Pittsburgh's offense, and I'm not all that afraid of them. So I think I'm going to take a peek at the first 5 under, and then in terms of a side, the only thing that I'd really go into would be Pittsburgh on the first 5 run line. So -0.5 in the first 5. You get that for around -140 right now. We'll see if we end up making anything a final play in this one. There's a lot of question marks on the Washington side of things because of the pitching. We don't necessarily know who's going to come in after that and that type of thing. So those are the 2 spots that I'd consider in this game, but nothing that I'm overly excited about, if we're being honest here. Next up, we have Philadelphia taking on San Francisco. Taijuan Walker on the mound going up against Landon Roop. I do think that we have some question marks on the pitcher side of things. Like Walker is off to I guess you could say great start on the season, right? He has 2 starts under his belt here and 0 earned through both of them. But it was against Colorado at home. He was at home. And then it was against Atlanta. And we're starting to learn that Atlanta offense is kind of dicey, right? On the other side of things, we have Landon Raup here, who, you know, young pitcher, obviously has some time under his belt, including last year, mainly coming out of the bullpen, though. But he has 2 starts under his belt, and he hasn't looked all that terrible. I mean, his last start, he went 6 innings flat, 1 earned run, 7 hits, I guess, is a decent amount, but 4 strikeouts, no walks. So, sure, I guess there's some positive to pull from both of them. My one concern in this game, because this seems like an obvious to me Philadelphia spot, right? They're at home. They're going up against a pitcher that isn't all that tremendous or anything like that. My one concern, and I think it's a big concern, is that this Philadelphia offense doesn't look like themselves, right? They've had some high-scoring games, but in their last 5 games, 4-2, 0-4, and 0 runs. You can even make the argument that that's a low-scoring offense, obviously, right? But you sure as hell can make the argument that that is an inconsistent offense. Whereas San Francisco's coming into this one, last 4 games here, 8-9-4-5. They went up against the Yankees in the middle of that too as well. So this seems like a spot in which it's flipped on its head. San Francisco actually has the offensive advantage, but I don't know about the pitching advantage. So that's a big question mark for me. I don't think we're going to be ultimately confident on anything on the sides here. I almost want to just say that Walker comes back down to earth and we consider San Francisco team total over and kind of just say, hey, bet it and forget it if we do roll with it, because again, I don't really trust him, even though he's had a decent start to the season, right? He's a lot better against lefties than he is righties, though. There's only 3 projected lefties in this lineup today. I want to say the Giants have a switch hitter, so maybe we could say 4. But, you have Adames, Chapman, Ramos, Flores, a couple other righties in the lineup that could worry you a little bit. So I think this could be a decent spot for San Fran. But some big question marks, right? Like Philadelphia at some point, I think, will click and be that, 4 runs minimum type team that we know them to be. They still have that offense, still a very good offense. Guys just aren't fully in full swing yet, no pun intended. So I think the only thing I'd go with here would be a consideration of Giants team total over, because I don't necessarily want to sit here and back, Landon Rupp either. One player prop that I could consider, and it's just due to the matchup in general in terms of the pitch mix, is going to be Brandon Marsh under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. And the pitch mix is, again, what I'm kind of looking at. He's going to see a ton of curveballs. That's Rupp's number 1 pitch. He doesn't hit the curveball all that well. He does hit the sinker well. Changeup he hits well, then slider he doesn't. Those are the pitches he's going to see. But over 44% of the time, I should say, he's going to see the curveball. But the sinker, Rupp's been throwing a lot more than he did last year. So last year's data, which is a bigger sample size, we see a lot more curveballs. This year, sinker's been the primary pitch, so that could keep us off of it as well. And I apologize for 2 games in seem pretty damn wishy-washy, but we're not trying to force anything today. That has definitely paid its dividends thus far into the MLB season, not forcing anything. Next up, we have Tampa Bay taking on the Red Sox. Tanner Houck on the mound for the Sox, going up against Shane Baz for Tampa Bay. Now, I do think Shane Baz is going to have a good season. He's off to a pretty decent start, right? He shuts out Pittsburgh, 10 strikeouts, no walks, no earned runs through, 6 innings. Then he goes 7 innings against LA, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 walks though, but again, 0 walks in his first start. I'm not willing to just jump ship and be like, oh, that's going to be the norm, right? So yeah, I give him some credit for the season, whereas Tanner Houck, you look at his numbers and they don't look all that terrible. It's almost like he's getting better and better each start. 5 2/3, 4 earned against Texas. His next start, 4 innings pitched, 3 earned against Baltimore. Then he has 1 earned in 6 2/3 against Toronto. That was a pretty good outing. But this Red Sox team hasn't been necessarily giving, I guess they did give him in that second game run support, but they haven't necessarily been giving him consistent run support, and they haven't been giving consistent run support to any pitcher. This Red Sox team started the season hot, and they have that 18-run game that is skewing some of their numbers. Right now, they are averaging 4.53 runs per game, which seems decent, but if I go through their right after that 18-run game, this would be their last 7 games, 2 runs 1, 1, 4, 1, 2, 3. That sounds like an offense that is somewhat cold. Now, maybe going up against Shane Baz could be good today. He doesn't have the best numbers against this current roster. 37 plate appearances against, just a 16.2% K rate, 5.4% walk rate, which compares this year to a 31% K rate and a walk rate, I think, of like 7.5. So obviously doing a lot better this year than historically against this team. Average against of 294, a WOBA 410, slugging 645. So maybe the Red Sox can get to him. I will lean Red Sox in this spot, but it's really just because of the odds. It's not even based on much other than, I think Tanner Houck has more better pitching in him than he has shown, and maybe even last start, he looked pretty good, and that was a start in which, this is just being a Red Sox fan watching every pitch of that game, that was a start in which his slider or sweeper, whatever you want to call it, wasn't working for him. His number 1 pitch wasn't working for him, and he still only allowed 1 run through that time, right? So the fact that the Red Sox have a plus number behind him, I think Tanner Houck versus Shane Baz could be a wash today. And, if Tanner Houck pitches better, this Tampa Bay offense, I think, is a little hollow. I don't really believe that they're going to be a very good offense, and the Red Sox should kind of kick it back into gear. So give me the Red Sox and the over. The problem with this is that Tampa Bay looks like, almost non-arguably, right, looks like the better team and the better offense right now, and there are ways of going around making the case for Shane Baz over Tanner Houck, but I kind of believe in this sweeper that Tanner Houck has. If that's on, this is a pitch that, Tampa Bay doesn't hit all that well. In fact, against the sinker, which is his next pitch, they're dead last in the league, so if he's sweeping, that's going to be great. Against the sinker, which would be more of his fastball pitch, they're dead last in the league. Could be a good outing for him. So yeah, I'm going to lean towards the over though, because the minute the Red Sox bullpen gets in, I don't trust it. And I do think the Red Sox can get to Tampa Bay's pitcher today. I have 2 player props that I'm considering. I haven't locked either of them in yet, but it's going to be Jake Mangum under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, as well as Danny Jansen under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Tanner Houck's good against left-handed bats. That's why I like the Magnum spot, the Maggum spot. And on the other side of things with Danny Jansen, this is why I like this. Him against right-handed pitchers. Right now, this is last year's data, but a bigger sample size. 193 batting average against. And then is against the slider, which is that sweeper that we'll see from Tanner Houck. His strikeout rate jumps to 20%. He does hit the sinker pretty well, but the minute you go to splitter and cutter, which are the next two pitches that he barely throws. I mean, the splitter he probably throws 20% of the time. He doesn't hit all that well. So I think we do have a good spot for Danny Jansen under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs today. Throw in the fact that he's only gone over this number once this season, and it was a couple of games ago against Atlanta. He hit a home run. Other than that, really been a cold year to start the season for him. All right, guys, before we move on, I just referenced some stats, and I'll tell you, Outlier makes it super, super easy to find that. Go ahead and check out Outlier. Link will be down in the description as well as the pinned comment. I can show you better than I can tell you. So right here, we have their prop screen, in which the only filters I have on is the odds, minus 165 being that absolute threshold. But you can play with this all you want. You want a plus money play, you can move these odds around. We stick a minus 155 just to get a good sense and a good board, right? And then plus 165 as the longest shot odds. And then I have it filtered to Boston, Tampa Bay, because that is the game that we're looking at here. So I can go through this, right? And they have a bunch of props with the odds being offered, their implied probability, as well as a last 5 trend, last 10 trend, last 20, head-to-head, 2025, so this season and 2024 last season. And the way we found these was kind of looking around and saying, okay, well, Danny Jansen, let's see. We can click into that one and kind of expand it. This is him in the last 10. We can look at him in the last 5, head-to-head. We can start scrolling down, and this is what I was talking about. You have his Tanner Houck matchup, which is very, very small, just 3 plate appearances against. And then you have also Danny Jansen versus right-handed pitcher. That's Tanner Houck. That's where I referenced that 193 number, right? And the WRC plus, you can see drops as well. And then Tanner Houck against right-handed bats, this might be something of concern, right? Maybe want to keep you off of it because all of a sudden you see some red. Green is good, red is bad in this case, obviously. And Tanner Houck struggles a little bit more against the righty bats, most likely because he hangs that slider over the plate sometimes, right? When it's supposed to sweep across them. Now, this is what I really like, seeing the pitch arsenal. You can see the percent of the type of pitch thrown in terms of how often Tanner Houck throws it. He's going to throw that slider / sweeper, the sinker, and the splitter. You can even see Danny Jansen's numbers against these pitches. Slider, okay, his WOBA goes up slightly, right, from 294 to 301, but his K rate drops to 20.3. Against the sinker, that's what I said, he hits that pretty well, but against the splitter now, hits it pretty damn poorly. You know what I mean? So this could be a good spot. And what's even crazier, you want to go even more in depth? Okay, let's look at the slider specifically. Danny Jansen where he likes to hit it, Tanner Houck where he likes to throw it, sinker specifically, splitter, all of those pitches, guys. And this is just one little corner of the Outlier space here, guys. There's so many things out there like their insights tab in which you can go through and find plays that are trending right now in the market, and you don't even have to go through all the prop step and everything like that. They also have the popular tab, which this is those same game parlays and whatnot that they put right in the front of some of these books, right? You could see FanDuel, you could see DraftKings. These are the plays. You can see how often they're hitting to know if you're kind of getting a good deal or not on those spots. So go ahead and check it out, guys. Again, that is Outlier. That link is in the description as well as the pinned comment. In terms of player props, especially for baseball, it's great for basketball, football, hockey. It's great for those. I think this is the best player prop tool for baseball out there. And you know what? I attribute Outlier, almost 100% to our player prop success to start the season. So again, link down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. You get a 7-day free trial. After that, it's not even an expensive tool. Go ahead and check it out. All right, Yankees taking on Kansas City. This is an interesting one, and I guess a tough one to break down because you do have Carlos Carrasco projected to be starting for the Yankees here. He's going up against Seth Lugo. I know that I would believe that Seth Lugo is the better pitcher. This Kansas City offense, though, does have me worrying a little bit, right? Like, this was one of the offenses that I projected, or at least in my brain, that they were going to be pretty good this year. Yet they're sitting here averaging 3.25 runs for per game, 8-8 on the season. They've only won 2 road games. They're going up against the Yankees, who are 6.5 runs for per game. We saw them kind of come out of their shell a little bit against that San Francisco team, 1 run in game 1, but then they go 8-4. They still lost. But now you have a fired up Yankees team who gets to stay at home, going up against a Kansas City team who lost 2 of 3 against Cleveland. I believe they won their last 2 series, if I'm not mistaken. But Kansas City has not shown us, I think, what we'd want to see, right? But again, you do have Seth Lugo on the mound, and I'd say that he's a better pitcher than Carrasco, but I can't fade these Yankees offense at that price. Seth Lugo, in terms of his numbers against this Yankees team, in terms of their roster, pretty good. Carrasco's pretty bad. So if you can get to the Kansas City side for plus 125, more power to you. But I do think that, given the state of the bullpens, which neither one of them are all that impressive to me, and, the starting pitching, which Seth Lugo should be impressive, but he's a better pitcher, but he hasn't blown my socks off. It comes down to the offense for me, and I think that this Yankees offense is just much, much better. So I'm going to lean in that direction. I will say that he's going to throw a bunch of sinkers. He throws that more than the fastball, Lugo. Right, the cutter, or is it the cutter? Either one, Yankees hit both of those very, very well. Even if he does throw his fastball, which I think he throws 22% of the time, Yankees should hit that pretty well. The only thing that I guess could concern me is if he goes to, his splitter. So the sinker he'll throw, they hit that well. The splitter he only throws 10% of the time though. It's the one pitch the Yankees struggle with this year. But Lugo's a crafty enough pitcher that maybe he mixes in that in more. But for a guy that has 1 million pitches in his arsenal, Yankees hit most of them. So again, comes down to the offense. Give me the Yankees on the money line. I also don't mind the idea of a Yankees team total over. In terms of odds, let's see if we can get an updated spot and updated line on that. Real quick, I'll see if we can get that. Actually, I'll show you how I can get that because it's just another natural plug here for Outlier. So now I'm on the game screen, right? I found this matchup, Yankees versus Kansas City. You go into more details, team props, and you can even see the odds for all of the lines of their team props. So right now you're probably looking at Yankees over 4.5 for, minus 110, which isn't bad odds, but you can even see the trend here. They've definitely struggled at it. What if we filter to them at home? All of a sudden, 6 of their last 10, they're averaging 7.2. That, you're telling me that 20-plus game doesn't help. And then against righties, you can even say, okay, so this is dating back to last year a little bit too because we have it on the last 10. But, I guess over 4.5 might be a consideration for us for this Yankee squad as well. I don't know what to make of this Kansas City offense. I would say Carrasco stinks, and I do believe he stinks, but I think the Royals have seen some bad pitchers and haven't done squat with him. Toronto taking on Atlanta, and it's weird to say, but I think this one might be simpler than we think. Easton Lucas on the mound, who I laughed at the first time we had to break down one of his starts, going up against Grant Holmes here. Now, Easton Lucas has looked really, really good to start the year. He's pitched, 10 and a third in terms of his 2 starts. Washington, Baltimore, still 2 kind of unidentified offenses, I guess. We've given praise to both of them. At times they've looked kind of meh. Washington, though, obviously, like I said, and have been saying, they've looked okay. And I clearly, as a Red Sox fan who's biased, believe in this Red Sox offense. So I'm giving the kid credit here. 10 innings pitched, just 4 hits, 0 earned runs, 11 strikeouts, 3 walks, and he's averaging about 15 pitches per inning. The kid is pitching well. He's pitching from the left side, which is the side that this Braves team struggles with if we use our dashboard. And I'll tell you how to get access to the Guy Boston Sports dashboard just after we break down this game, so be patient for that. But we'll walk through it for a second. So you can see here, this is their average, this season against just overall. And then we have them against lefties, and then we have them against lefties specifically on the road. And you can see that things just go downhill for them, right? And here's Easton Lucas, a lot of green in terms of his starts overall. But he's going to throw a lot of fastballs. I wouldn't sit here and say that they hit that all that well. 19th in terms of runs above average this year. Some of the top guys in the lineup, like Ozzie Albies, Riley, Ozuna, yeah, they're good against the fastball specifically, but the rest of the lineup, you have 6 guys that don't really look like they're all that, great at it. He's also going to throw the slider. 17th. When you look at the slider, there's a lot of red in the lineup as well. Some green for sure. And then the changeup over here as well, kind of a mixed bag. And same thing for them. This might be the best pitch that they hit. But overall, I don't think Easton Lucas is in a tough spot here. I think that this could be a good start for him. Now, could you say that the last 2 starts are a facade and whatnot? Sure. But I also don't think that Atlanta's offense on the road against a lefty is any better than what we saw from Boston, what we saw from, Washington, that type of a thing. So I think he could be in a good spot. You flip it over to Grant Holmes, you can see a lot of red in his numbers this season. He's going to throw a ton of fastballs. Okay, well, Toronto hits that pretty well. A ton of curveballs. Okay, well, Toronto hits that pretty well. A bunch of their guys in the lineup, only 2 guys, Wagner, and Lukes being the 2 guys that, looks like they have pretty bad averages against righties. But, versus righties at home, pretty damn good start to the season. So Toronto with a slight bullpen advantage too, just based on metrics. I think this could be a good spot for Toronto, not overthinking it. The Braves have the bigger name. I think we know that. And I think that is kind of like, is Toronto really going to, beat this Braves team that's bound to come back and play well? Honestly, the Braves 1-9 on the road this year. They're 4-11 overall. They have played a crap ton of road game, which I kind of give them some credit and defense for. But I don't see why this has to be the spot where they come out and win. especially in a pick'em. So give me Toronto, which arguably has the better offense, the better pitcher, and the better bullpen today, which again is arguable, but is kind of crazy to say out loud. Atlanta threw some of their arms yesterday in terms of the bullpen, Toronto as well, but even still, I still think Toronto has a little bit of an advantage. So crazily enough, yeah, give me Toronto. I think that Atlanta has the name, but Toronto may have the nuts and bolts today. In terms of a total, I'm not willing to go and ask for 10 runs with a Braves team needing to pull their weight. I want to see some action out of this Braves team before we truly, get behind that. Toronto, their offense, I guess you could say starting to look a little bit better and a little bit more consistent. So maybe a Toronto team total over, but part of me really wants to get Easton Lucas involved as well. So maybe we look at a Toronto team total over, maybe a Braves team total under. I think there's some stuff that we can come up with in this game. So keep an eye on the final plays. All right, to get access to the dashboard, it is very, very simple. You head over to GuyBostonSports.com, which is coincidentally the link that takes you to the final plays down in the pinned comment. And right here, it'll look a little different on mobile, but right here, you can see members. You can head over. You can either sign up, log in, you go to your account. But if you want the quickest way, you go to MLB Dashboard. If you already are logged in and you already have a subscription, you will see the dashboard right here. You can open it up. You can zoom in. You can print it out. You get each and every game broken out in a visual format, right? Pitching data, in terms of starter, in terms of bullpen, in terms of pitch mix. Then you have over here all offensive stuff from the middle of your screen to the right. We have against, their average overall this season and WRC plus, K rate, all these key metrics, right? Versus the hand that they're seeing today, which auto switches based on the hand they're seeing. And then based on home away against that hand as well, we have them versus specific pitches. So you can kind of tie it to the pitch mix. And then you can also see over here, for example, how guys hit specific pitches in terms of runs above average, which is a really good metric to use, kind of all encompassing in my opinion. So yeah, go ahead and check it out again. If you are logged in, you'll see this. If you're not logged in, we could set this to a non-logged in view. And you can see it says, hey, hold on, buddy. You got to sign up for a membership, right? You say view membership levels, and you get three options. You got the all sports, which is right here. You got the NBA dashboard, and you have the MLB dashboard individually. I would recommend the all sports because we have a pretty damn good, this is just a little brief look at it, pretty damn good NBA dashboard as well that has definitely helped this season and heading to the playoffs, no better time. But if you are just interested in the MLB dashboard, you could pick that up as well. But again, this all sports, if you can combine them, saves you about $1 per month. But yeah, guys, this thing is meant to help you and start your research process off on the right note and let you kind of optimize and really make your research process efficient. Is it the end-all be-all? No, I'm sure you'll use other tools and whatnot, but this should point you in the right direction. I use it every single morning and at night when we update it too, so really, really helpful to me. Go ahead and check it out, guys. GuyBostonSports.com. Head over to that members area. All right, next up we have Milwaukee taking on Detroit. Detroit wins that series against Minnesota, which is pretty big for them because they have a negative record on the road this year. They're 4-5 on the road. Milwaukee 5-2 at home. They're coming off of a hard-fought series. I mean, they ended up losing the series, but a hard-fought series against Arizona. They were winning both of those games through like 4 or 5 innings. I mean, that game that Arizona came back in the 9th for sure. But ultimately, what I'm saying is they were winning that game even yesterday, and then all of a sudden, Arizona races back and cashed both, like I said, the team total over and the money line for us. And just make note that I do think, Zach Gallen is going to be pretty damn good this year. I think he let up 1 or 2 runs, but it was a home run. Anyways, we're not talking Zach Gallen, we're talking Milwaukee. This may be, now Tariq Skubal's on the mound, I gotta mention that, right? Tariq Skubal's on the mound here for Detroit, and that's why these odds are where they are. But Tyler Alexander, sneakily, though he's had a couple starts, then some, out of the pen type of thing, relief innings, he hasn't really looked all that bad. He's looked even better at home. He's going to throw a lot of cutter, a lot of fastball. That's not exactly what Detroit is crushing right now. They're really, really murdering sliders and curves and even sinkers. So I think this could be a spot in which Tyler Alexander, who's starting for Milwaukee, whether he gives you, 4 innings, 5 innings, who knows? I think this could be a decent spot for him. I think in his starts, he's pitched like 4 to 5 innings. When he comes out, which was the first couple starts of the year, he pitches, 1 inning or so, but he hasn't looked bad in his last couple starts. I know it's kind of crazy to say that, but he really hasn't. He's gone up against Cincinnati. He shut them out. And then he went up against Colorado in Colorado and, only pitched 4 innings, but 2 earned runs, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. Detroit's offense against a lefty, too, isn't all that tremendous. So I think I'm going to lean towards a couple things here. First 5 under, because I do think that Skubal's still going to do his job, and obviously Milwaukee's bats, though they're really good at home, I still think that Skubal is like the dominant force in this matchup, right? So a first 5 under, depending on what we can get it at. In fact, I can even check Outlier really quick to find that. So totals at 7, we can still get the under 4.5 or 4, -165 or -125. Have to figure out if that 40 cents for that half run is worth it, but that could be something that we look at, right? And secondarily, do we mix it up and take a peek at Milwaukee maybe on the full game? I mean, Detroit's got a decent bullpen, but again, this Detroit team has struggled on the road this year. Milwaukee has been good at home this year. For the plus 150 price tag, it could be a consideration. Now, I'm not saying that's going to overtake the idea of a first 5 under or anything like that. I do like both pitchers in this spot, but I don't know. Is it crazy to fade Skubal and the Tigers? Like, good offense, good pitching, good bullpen, and we're saying take the other side? Don't be surprised if that is something that we throw in final plays. I'll just say that because I prefer that first 5 under. I will admit that, but there's something about that spot where I'm like, Milwaukee's good at home. Detroit's kind of stinky at home. If it wasn't Tariq Skubal, I'd be all over Milwaukee today. By the way, guys, in that game, looking at it after the fact too, I'm starting to like the Nerfy a little bit more in that one as well. So that's definitely something to consider, mainly for this reason. Look on Outlier, right? I have the Nerfy set up here. This is the last 10 of Tariq Skubal. He's been absolutely crushing it. 9 of his last 10 starts. This season, 3 straight starts. When Tariq Skubal's on the road, 2 straight. You flip it over to the other side of things, Milwaukee here. Tyler Alexander starting. He only has 1 start this season on the road, at home, and he has hit the Nerfy. You take him out of it when they're at home, they've hit the Nerfy in, looks like 4 of 7. So I like the Nerfy in this spot as well, and those are the odds that you're getting. So 2 plays that I could see definitely would be the first 5 under and the Nerfy, and then I'm still kind of putting around the idea in my brain, maybe a flyer on Milwaukee money line, but those previous 2 are definitely plays that I think have a chance of being a final play today. I'm Minnesota taking on the Mets. So I started this trying to work towards an under because Joe Ryan's on the mound. He's going up against Clay Holmes. I do kind of respect both pitchers, but more so, I think the pitchers have some good pitch mix and matchups here against the bats, who both of these offenses have shown that they have some bright lights and then they have some dark times as well, right? Like the Mets should be a lot better than they are, I think. Minnesota, you could make the argument in the same case, but they don't have the names that the Mets do, right? But ultimately, what's worrying me a little bit about an under or even a first 5 under, trusting the starting, they do have good bullpens, though, so that's why I was thinking just maybe like full game under, right? What is worrying me, if I'm being completely honest, which I like to be on this show, right, is the fact that we have, well, one, there's rain, so that kind of helps the idea, right? But what if I told you there's nearly 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to right field, right center field? That's the short part of this Twins ballpark. They do have a higher wall out there, I believe, right? But still, it's like 325 to the left field line, 350 to your left field. So worries me a little bit that there's definitely a chance that, the wind blowing right there, even with the rain, you put something up in the air and it's like, oof, like that wasn't a good look, right? So a little concerned. I still do think I like the under because if the wind didn't exist, which is something to factor in, but you have rain, which should help an under. You have 2 pitchers who I think are in good spots, like I said, based on pitch mix. Can you make the argument that these guys have had the best starts of the season? No, I would say Joe Ryan, we've seen more good than bad. Clay Holmes, you could probably make the same exact argument, but he's seen Miami twice and I think Houston the other time. Like, not much of like a sample size of good offenses that he's had to go up against, right? Whereas I think Joe Ryan pitched against Houston, Kansas City, and St. Louis, so can kind of make the same argument there. But ultimately, I do think that these are 2 better pitchers than the offense's skill level as of right now. So I'm going to lean under. That wind is terrifying, but I do think that could be the spot. 8.5 runs here. We've seen 3 straight, or 2 of their, I think it was 3 of their last 4 from Minnesota stay under this line. And then for the Mets, it was 3 of their last 4 as well. So hopefully these trends kind of continue. For what it's worth, they've had some really low-scoring games in the past playing one another, but when they do go over, it's like 15-2. They have one of those in there. So give me the under, but there are some concerns. If I had to pick a side here, I think just due to the fact that we see a decent price tag next to the Mets. I think that they do have, like I said, the better offense, or at least the offense that at some point is going to kick it into gear. And they've been winning games. They've won 8 of their last 10 games. Minnesota's won 3 of their last 10. So though they're on the road, the Mets, I do still think that they have the better offense. But I'm not like racing to the window to place a Mets money line play because Joe Ryan just throws a ton of fastballs, right? He's going to hum it in there. That's actually one of the pitches that this Mets team has definitely struggled with this season. So yeah, I like the under. I like, a Mets money line, but I'm not quite sure if I can sit here and tell you guys that I love anything as of right now. One player prop that I could convince myself that I love, and I love the fact that he ended up going off yesterday, right? I think he had 1 hit, 2 RBIs, and 1 run. Maybe not a run, but whatever. Actually, you could find that pretty easily. Yeah, one hit, one run, two RBIs yesterday, right? Mark Vientos, who is a guy that we've already faded this season. I like his under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. If the slider and splitter are working for Joe Ryan, it should be pretty good. Vientos will hit the fastball fairly well, so I will admit that. But the other two pitches, we could be in a good spot here. And he's only gone over this line 3 times this year and once over the last 10. Last season, he was a lot better than he was this year so far. And against the Twins last year, he did hit this over in 3 straight. So that is a little concerning to take the under, but we've made some bank taking this guy this year, so maybe we kind of stick to it again here today. All right, St. Louis taking on Houston, Sonny Gray taking on Framber Valdez. I believe these are the projected starters. Valdez, so far so good on the road this year. Sonny Gray, so far so good at home. Houston does struggle against the right-handed pitcher, and Sonny Gray can throw, 7 pitches or 6 pitches, so whatever he figures out to throw, I think he could probably find some pitches that don't work for Houston in this spot. I've been kind of on record, right, in these videos saying that I think Sonny Gray's lost a step, but at the same time, though, we've kind of seen Houston step out of their shell, so just take this with a grain of salt as I say it. At the same time, haven't we kind of seen Houston's offense, at least to start the year, kind of lose a step? Do you know what I mean? So I think that's kind of a wash. Framber Valdez against this St. Louis team, I don't think is the best spot for him, as they hit lefties pretty well. He's going to also throw, sinker, curve kind of religiously. The sinker they hit well, the curve not so much. But some of the guys like Baker, Arenado, Andy Pages, like they hit the curve pretty well. In terms of the sinker, you do have the middle to bottom of the order that hits that pitch well, so I think that kind of lines up. And like I said, they hit lefties well. So I want to trust you get the home dog here for plus 105 right now is the best number. I think this is a fairly low scoring game, as the total would indicate. I'm going to lean towards St. Louis. I don't think this Astros offense is long for what they've been doing, right? In that game against LA, the Angels, 14 runs. You're like, oh my God, this offense is back, because prior to, they scored 6 against Seattle. Then they scored 1 run. And sure, they bounced back with 7 the next game, but there's no consistency there, right? And I'm not saying St. Louis is this ultimate consistent roster, but they're not allowing in the last few games too many runs. It's almost like the same thing as the Red Sox. Ever since the Red Sox put up a huge football number against them, their defense and pitching has been pretty good. And I'm giving Sonny Gray, I guess, like one last chance here. I've seen this at minus 105 on some books, so if you could still snag a plus 105, that might be the spot that I consider. I don't think that I like it as much as the pick'em, but yeah, I think that's the side that makes sense to me. In terms of total, like I said, I'd probably lean under as well. Maybe a first 5 under, putting the ball in both these pitchers' hands. San Diego taking on Chicago. San Diego, 4 wins in a row. Now, have they had the toughest schedule? Not necessarily, and they did lose the series to Chicago last time they played earlier in the year. Chicago, though, coming off of a game last night, Sunday Night Baseball, they do beat the Dodgers. They also get news kind of right after, in the middle of that game, that Justin Steele is going to be missing the remainder of the season, which is really, really tough to see. That's obviously a guy that is a big piece for them. You could even make the argument one of their most consistent pitchers last year. Obviously, they do have Imanaga and whatnot, but that's huge. I would say San Diego, if you could still get them at a good price, would be the side that I consider here. They're playing really good baseball. They have Dylan Cease in the mound going up against Jameson Taillon. I would say Dylan Cease has the advantage here. Taillon has been really bad on the road to start the year. Now, obviously, still very, very small sample size, but Dylan Cease has been very good at home. And obviously, Chicago has a really good offense, but I think San Diego does as well. And when they're going up against righties, I do trust them. They're the number 1 team in terms of averages here against righties. Small sample size, but still, we're a couple weeks into the season now. They have a 130 WRC plus, which is good enough for second best in the league. They strike out the second fewest amount of times, on base second, OPS third, slugging ninth. So I do think that this is a good spot, and you throw in the fact that Taillon's going to throw the majority of his pitches are fastballs and cutters. That makes up, I want to say it's like 60% of his pitches, those 2 pitches. Number 4 in terms of runs above average for San Diego. The cutter is number 7. So I think that they could do pretty well here. Taillon also struggles mightily against right-handed bats. Well, you have Tatis, Machado, Bogarts as right-handed bats in this lineup. 3 of the top 4 or 5 guys. So I think San Diego could be in a decent spot, but the Cubs have good offense. Let's not forget that. And Dylan Cease obviously is a pitcher that is good, but he's had his blow-ups before as well. His numbers are fairly good against this Cubs roster, so we'll take that. But yeah, give me the San Diego Padres if you can get a good number behind them. I've seen like minus 170 out there, but also minus 145, so there's some discrepancy in the market. In terms of the total, I kind of like the idea of a Padres team total over, and maybe that's a way that we don't have to necessarily fully back Dylan Cease either. decent weather here. I mean, there's wind blowing out, 65 degrees in San Diego here. And right now, in terms of a team total for the Padres, you can get them over 3.5 for -140. So I think that could be a decent look. They've averaged 4.6 since, I guess, in their last 9 here against Chicago. Maybe that's a look. And I don't have any player props as of right now. All right, Dodgers taking on Colorado. We could breeze through this one. Dustin May on the bump going up against Antonio Senzatela. You know I can't say his name. We've tried multiple times throughout his career. I would say he's a good pitcher, but realistically, that's as far as I'd go, right? And he's had plenty of starts, or plenty of situations, is probably a better word, this season, where he's really getting out of these jams. And then he goes against Milwaukee, and this was in Colorado, so I guess that's tough on a pitcher, right? But he can't get out of the jam. Like, he allowed, 9 runs through 4 innings, something like that. Prior to, he had allowed tons of base runners to Philadelphia, to Tampa Bay, and he was getting out of these jams. He didn't, and I don't think that you want to be going up against the Dodgers doing that. The one saving grace and argument that you could make would be that, well, the Dodgers just, we're on Sunday Night Baseball, they're going to be tired, blah, blah, blah. They're still at home. I wouldn't go that far. And if Senzatela was a lefty, maybe you could start to make that argument, because I'm pretty big on I think this Dodgers team struggles against lefties, at least to start the season. But for me, you can't go that far. So give me the Dodgers, maybe a team total over, but this is going to be a tough one to get down just because of the lack thereof of volume in this one. But guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, comment 36 if you made it this far into the video. Really do appreciate it. And we've been off to a fire start in the MLB. Let's keep that going. We can at least try. I'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.